face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello, I'm your host Nsai Gabriel for this hour's news. Let's start from Libya. The Libyan Anti-Narcotics Agency and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at strengthening joint efforts to combat drugs and organized crime. The agreement seeks to enhance cooperation in addressing cross-border security challenges. According to the Libyan Anti-Narcotics and Psychotropic Substance Control Agency, the memorandum establishes a framework for exchanging expertise and intelligence, developing mechanisms for joint training, and improving field coordination between the two sides. Both parties affirmed that this collaboration will directly enhance the effectiveness of Libyan security institutions in countering drug trafficking and related criminal networks. The agency added the memorandum marks the strategic step toward building a long-term institutional cooperation between Libya and the United States in combating narcotics. It also reflects the Libyan leadership's commitment to strengthening constructive international security partnerships that serve the national interest and protect society from one of the most serious cross-border threats. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye unveiled Ayo, the Lion Cub mascot for the 2026 Dakar Youth Olympic Games, during a ceremony attended by Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, Sports Minister Kadi Denegay, and International Olympic Committee President Christy Conventry. Ayo wears a traditional tinged hat, vibrant African garments, and locally crafted shoes, symbolizing youth, vitality, and African spirit. The name Ayo, meaning joy in Yoruba, reflects cultural diversity, and the slogan Africa welcomes, Dakar celebrates. The design emerged from a national competition by Senegalese Minister of Education, involving nearly 500 students aged 12 to 18. The winning entry came from a 16-year-old Nede Marime Diop of St. Louis, and the name proposed by 18-year-old Ghanaian-born Nede Kadi Crystal Kombasa. President Faye called hosting the Yog a national priority and continental mission, stating Senegal carries Africa's hopes to amplifying the continent's voice globally. He emphasized showcasing a confident, youth-trusting Africa that values sports, peace, and friendship. Senegal will become the first African host of the Youth Olympic Games, set for October 31st to November 20, 2026, across Dakar, Diamniadio, and Saly. Around 2,700 athletes will compete in over 20 sports, including additions, breaking, five-a-side baseball, triathlon, and wushu.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
Chinua Achebe, a towering figure whose writing helped shape modern literature in the 20th century, a Nigerian novelist, poet, and critic.
In 1930, in the quiet Igbo town of Ogidi in eastern Nigeria, a child was born who'd one day give Africa its most powerful literary voice. His name was Chinua Achebe, the writer who told the world to hear Africa's heartbeat through words. He was honored with over 30 honorary degrees, countless awards, and in 2007, he received the Man Booker International Prize for Lifetime Achievement.
Join us in honoring the legacy of a true literary icon, Chinua Achebe.
GE Aerospace, a world-leading provider of jet and turboprop engines, integrated systems and aviation services, has presented an achievement award to Mesfin Taso Bakala, Group Chief Executive Officer of Ethiopian Airlines, in recognition of his outstanding leadership and exceptional contribution to the growth, modernization, and transformation of aviation across the African continent. The honor celebrates Mesfin Taso's visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to excellence, which has been instrumental in positioning Ethiopian Airlines as Africa's leading aviation group and a globally recognized success story. Under his stewardship, the airline has continued to expand its modern fleet powered by GE Aerospace engines while embracing cutting-edge technologies that enhance operational efficiency, sustainability, and service quality. Speaking at the event, Russell Stokes, President and CEO of GE Aerospace Commercial Engines and Services, praised Mesfin Taso's exceptional leadership and long-term vision.
Ethiopian Airlines has long been a beacon of excellence in African aviation, setting the standard for innovation, reliability, and growth. From its beginnings nearly 80 years ago, Ethiopian Airlines has grown into one of the most respected carriers in the world, connecting Africa to the globe and fostering economic development across the continent.
During the ceremony, Arvin Masinga, United States Ambassador to Ethiopia, also delivered remarks commending Ethiopian Airlines' achievements and its contribution to the continent and beyond.
Ethiopian Airlines has long stood as a beacon of excellence, not just for Ethiopia, not just for Africa, but as was said before, the world. Under the capable leadership of CEO Adam Mesfin Taso, the airline has reached new heights, expanding routes, improving service, enhancing safety and efficiency, something that we all see and experience ourselves.
Accepting the award, Ethiopian CEO Mesfin Taso expressed his gratitude and emphasized the importance of collaboration in driving success.
Even though I received this award personally, I believe I do not deserve to keep it only for myself. It is shared among all the different exceptional teams that worked with me at different times of my tenure in Ethiopian Airlines. Therefore, this is for us, for the dedicated team at Ethiopian Airlines, but also including the GE team who have partnered with us for more than a decade now.
Moving on to art-related news, Cape Town's mayor has announced that the city will bestow its highest civic honor, the Freedom of the City, on legendary musical duo David Kramer and the late Talib Peterson. Mayor Gordon Hill Lewis confirmed yesterday that the honor will be awarded in a special ceremony in January 2026. These two remarkable artists will be awarded our highest civic honor, he said. They have not only entertained South Africans across generations, they have shaped South African musical theater and the rich cultural heritage of the Western Cape and the Mother City. Kramer and Peterson will join an elite group of recipients, including President Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Talib's daughter, Jawahiri Peterson, says the award means a great deal to the family. Sonapa Studios, Nile Entertainment, and Game Evo are producing Respawn, a 9-episode Pan-African drama series centered on competitive esports in Cape Town and Lagos. Created and showrun by Mayowa Adigabite, the project unites Nollywood and South Africa's production ecosystem. Scripts are complete with pre-production set for Q1 2026 and a targeted 2027 delivery. No distributions are yet attached. The series follows rival esports teams competing in a high-stakes tournament for the fictional tactical hero shooter New Dawn. In Lagos, a reclusive gamer builds a scrappy squad driven by personal traumas. In Cape Town, a disgraced icon rebuilds a professional team facing debts and hidden passions. Inspired by Chinese hits like The King's Avatar and Go-Go Squid, Respawn draws from Nigeria's gaming houses and South Africa's land centers, aiming to capture Africa's youth tech boom. Abena Amu, Ayomde Adekoya, and Mafo Kunene co-produce. Kunimai Adepepi is executive producer. Directors and cast from both nations will be announced soon. Game Evo, with over 600 tournaments since 2007, sees the series bridging entertainment and Africa's billion-dollar gaming market. Now shifting to business headlines, Zambia National Commercial Bank plans to raise $100 million through the country's first sustainability bond, its Chief Executive Officer Makwandi Chesebekunda said at a press briefing in Lusaka on Friday. In the last few years, such bonds issued to raise capital for projects that deliver environmental and/or social benefits have been issued by a wide range of countries across both developed and emerging markets. Zanaco's bond will be issued in 2 tranches, starting with $50 million private placement within 6 months, followed by a $50 million public placement after the initial sale. Chibesa-Kunda said the bank is in talks with private investors and will disclose their identities once agreements are finalized. Funds raised via the bond will support projects in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and climate-resilient infrastructure, in line with Zambia's Green Growth Strategy and its Climate Change Act. Africa accounts for less than 1% of the global $2.2 trillion green bond market, according to the African Policy Research Institute, highlighting a significant gap in funding for climate-related initiatives on the continent. Finally, Nigeria has begun discussions with the World Bank for a new $1 billion loan under a program designed to accelerate private investment, job creation, and economic diversification. The facility, known as Nigeria Actions for Investment and Jobs Acceleration, is a development policy financing operation scheduled for World Bank board consideration on December 16, 2025. According to the bank's concept note seen by Nairametrics on Friday, the financing will comprise of $500 million in International Development Association credit and $500 million in International Bank for Reconstruction and Development loan. If approved, it will be the second largest single loan Nigeria has received from the World Bank under President Bola Tinubu's administration, following the $1.5 billion facility grant in June 2024 under the Reforms for Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation initiative. The World Bank said the new program aims to support Nigeria's shift from short-term macroeconomic stabilization to sustainable private sector-led growth. The loan will back reforms intended to expand access to credit and digital financial services, lower prices for households and firms, and boost productivity in key agricultural value chains. Let's check the current weather forecast. Thanks for tuning in, and goodbye until the next hour's news.
This is Editorial from Pulse of Africa, the voice and face of Africa.
The year 2025 was dubbed a year of elections in Africa by the sheer number of countries having scheduled their respective elections within their calendar year. Accordingly, more than a dozen countries in all 4 corners on the continent have already conducted regional, legislative or presidential elections. In some cases, presidential and legislative elections are held months apart. These countries, some of which are yet to conduct their elections during the remaining months, include Tanzania, Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Malawi and Cote d'Ivoire. Of the countries that held elections already in 2025, the likes of Malawi and Seychelles demonstrate that institutional integrity and public trust in electoral systems can strengthen political accountability and credible democratic processes. Post-voting event in Tanzania earlier this week, however, provided a warning that no matter how deeply entrenched democratic practices can backslide if not nurtured. It is not something that can be taken for granted, not even in the US or Europe, as witnessed in violent events of the current decade. Even in Europe, a continent that prides itself in rooted culture of democratic practices, a recent resolution read into the realities of the time, promoting the Council of Europe to adopt a number of mechanisms to prevent what it described as the risk to democratic backsliding, as many factors coalesced to threaten the normal conduct of elections. According to the resolution adopted by the Parliamentary Council, elections today are rarely held in conditions of normalcy. Polarization, widespread disinformation, foreign influence, cyber attacks, and climate-related disruptions and the spillover of conflicts have created a persistent context of risk and vulnerability for electoral processes across the Council of Europe member states and globally. It goes without saying that improvement in electoral systems is a regular preoccupation of countries that commit, sustain and strengthen their respective democracies, not just as a matter of choice that may be waived at will, but as a principled conviction that without democratic practices, of which election is just one of many elements, societies will not be able to gather themselves together. In connection with this, the African Union's election tenets are based on principles of promoting free, fair, credible and transparent elections, ensuring peaceful transitions of power and upholding the rule of law and human rights. These principles are guided by the African Union's Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance and its broader goals for governance, peace and stability on the continent. As a raft of countries in Africa prepare to hold their parliamentary or presidential elections or both, African scholars view the continent's elections with increasing optimism, acknowledging that elections have become a common feature of the political landscape. They cite increased public demand, growing political competition and judicial independence, among others, to have described the current African elective endeavors favorably. Under this general milieu, 2026 is also going to see elections in many countries, including municipal elections in South Africa, general and parliamentary elections in Uganda, Zambia, Morocco, Algeria, Ethiopia, Benin, and Cabo Verde, and presidential elections in Djibouti, Republic of the Congo, Sao Tome and Principe, and Gambia, among others. While these countries brace for their respective elections events, African scholars warn that external influences and ineffective oppositions may continue to be some of the major factors constraining the quality of elections on the continent. Foreign powers, according to them, may actively engage in disinformation campaigns to influence elections in Africa, while opposition parties are often fragmented and numerically weak, making it difficult for them to act as a credible political counterweight to ruling parties. While democratic dispensations are kinds that will take root through time as long as the right track is pursued, one thing evidently is in popular choice in Africa to date: the need that power must emanate from the ballot, not the bullet.
This is Editorial from Pulse of Africa, the voice and face of Africa.